think it brings up also a deeper question of free speech and what that looks like online, especially given right now what we're seeing with Twitter coming under fire from the Trump administration for quote unquote censoring, although the censorship wasn't necessarily what I would consider censorship. Do you have any hot takes, so to speak, of any level of censorship you would like to see on social media?
So I tend to come at it from a different angle. So on the whole, like 230 debate, et cetera, where I differ, my foundation is different than a lot of technocritics that are dealing with this issue, because most of the technocritics dealing with this issue are coming from a foundation in which this is unquestionably, these platforms are unquestionably central to their existence and the existence of the republic. And so there's this huge urgency of then how do we get this public square functioning just right? Maybe we can somehow legislate it to function just right. Humanist technocritics like me or Jaron Lanier, we come at it from another point of view, which is like, they shouldn't be fundamental to our experience, to our republic. These are exploitative companies. The solution is not to try to legislate these companies into being exactly what the right thing is, because we'll never succeed. The solution is to stop taking these companies so seriously. And so I tend to come at it differently. It's just like what I was saying about tobacco before. We didn't deal with cigarette issues by saying, can we legislate what cigarettes are made out of until we can get them into something that is, less addictive or less dangerous. We instead tried to change the culture so that the idea that you smoked became like a lot less acceptable and just a lot less people did it. And so that's the way I come at it. I think we're going to run in circles trying to solve it. This was the worst thing that happened to the social media companies. This is like an important inflection point. I noticed in my own work that right around the Donald Trump election is where there was a huge shift in the public perception of social media. So the week of his election, this is the turning point as far as I can tell. Like the week of his election, I had an op-ed in the New York Times that said something negative about social media. This was at a point before this transformation. So that article got me in a lot of trouble. The New York Times got so much complaints about it that they had to commission a response op-ed that said basically, don't listen to that last op-ed, that's not right. There was a concern that I was tricking people. I would trick people and then thinking the wrong things about social media. So we were in this moment, even up until November of 2016, where the standard storyline is that these tools are actually essential, they're central to our existence, to our republic, to what have you. Within like 6 months, that reaction completely shifted. I've written subsequent op-eds for the New York Times that say negative things about social media, no negative backlash, right? So there was this anti-social media backlash that kind of popped up. And I think what happened, it was like the worst case scenario for social media companies in some sense was they found a way to annoy the left and the right. Different ways, but they annoyed the right because of censorship concerns, and they annoyed the left because Donald Trump used Facebook.
Yeah.
And I think that was foundational in our culture's relationship to these tools, because once you had one reason to be mad at social media, it changed the way that you categorize it in your brain, and it shifted it over from this box that said, this is great technology that we're exuberant about, over to this box of, ooh, I'm not so sure about it. And I think once it got dislodged, so we started thinking of something that could have problems, we began to notice a lot more problems. So I think this shift happened right around 2016. I think politics played a big role, not because the political issues are why everyone's upset at social media, but it taught people that you could be upset at social media. And with that change, it's been a massive change in how we see it. We see it with a lot more skepticism. So I think it's completely reasonable to imagine a future where I hope the moment of these tools having such dominance will actually have been passed.
I think is a really interesting point, actually, and very insightful, given the respect of you as a writer and the reaction that you receive. I think we've also somewhat noticed it in terms of when we've spoken in the past about our antagonistic nature with social media, or at least being critical.